the very beginning of our story, chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. And the second chapter just tells us there was chaos and confusion and a void, complete disruption and darkness everywhere. Kind of like we can biblically describe our times. One student at this Stump the Rabbi and Rebbitzin session, she was very agitated, and her question was not coming from her mind, it was coming from her heart. She shared very briefly how she came from a very traumatic background, a very dysfunctional family. And she said that my family, people don't get along, people aren't nice to each other, there's so much dysfunction. And she's like, over my immersion and learning about Judaism, I'm a little bit confused at how the Torah is always bringing us stories of dysfunction. This is the lens that she was seeing. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, every story in the Torah, Adam and Eve, the first family, Cain and Abel, they're kicked out. He's accusing her. Abraham, Sarah, that one kid's like this, one kid's like that. There's our cousins in the Middle East come from this family. You have so much, no one's getting along. Every family has someone who's a challenge. Everybody has all these fights. She's like, where in the Torah do we see an example of like a healthy, harmonious, beautiful family? If you look at every family, we know there's stuff. So I tried to spin it by saying that, doesn't that give you hope that the Torah is giving stories of stuff, because that means that you could get through your stuff and be a light in the world no matter where you come from? She wasn't satisfied. She wanted an answer. I want to see a functional family. So thank God my husband was there, because we're a good team. And he shared with everyone something that is probably, we could encapsulate, that assists us when we're dealing with difficulty on a college campus with what students show up with, what they're faced with, what they believe, and how they're challenged on the daily. And what was this short idea? That the Jewish family that you could find that seems to be not just super functional, but every kid in this family is like a serious rock star. Everybody's performing at their highest level. You know which family it is? Am I stumping everyone? Because that's fun. Who'd you say? Hannah, Joseph. I mean, we could find a lot of Freudian things in all of this stuff. I won't keep you guessing. We're reading about them now. We're reading about this family now. This family had 3 children. Moses, the leader of the Jewish people, Aaron, the priest of the Jewish people who loved and pursued peace, and Miriam, who led the women in song and didn't give up hope and faith. Wow, 3 children, 3 out of 3 are like, and they get along and they respect each other and they're using their potential. So now you're probably wondering, what kind of method did their parents use to raise their kids? Was it Montessori? Was it conscious discipline? Was it love and logic? Was it, which parenting methodology did their parents use to raise such rock star kids? You want to know what it is? I don't know. The Torah doesn't tell us. But it does give us a clue, and here's the clue, and the clue is something that I lean on very, very often. Here's the clue. The Torah tells us these children had obviously special parents. Who were the parents? Amram and Yocheved. Who were Amram and Yocheved? Yocheved was born at the gates going down into Egypt. The Torah actually lists 69 people who went down to the gates of Egypt, and the 70th was Yocheved, who was born at the gates. So we know where she was born, at a juncture in history when our people were going to be entering one of the darkest phases we ever experienced. What did her parents name her? Yocheved. What does Yocheved mean? Glory be to God. Amram, what does Amram mean? Exalted nation. Stop a minute. This is fake news. We are not exalted nation and there's no glory here. We're going down to Egypt. These are the people going into exile. How in the world can we, as parents, name our children with such obliviousness to the reality around us? And that's exactly where the message of inspiration comes to me, that when you're in a place that seems very dark and you're in a place that seems filled with challenge and filled with struggle, if you could find the glory and the exaltedness there in that place, it's not very hard to find joy and beauty when you're in a relaxed, pleasant, peaceful setting like this. It's very hard when you have people yelling and shouting at you and holding banners and accusing you of all things you never even thought of, to be strong and mighty and powerful and realize your potential in those places. And so I don't know what their parenting ideology was, but I know that these were people who saw hope, who saw light, who saw positivity, who saw glory and strength, even in the darkest places. And I think that's the thread, the tapestry that runs through our entire people, that through every age and stage in time, there have been immense struggles and incredible darkness, but the light of our soul, the light of our God, the light of our Creator, the light of our mission, the light of our purpose, and the light of the beautiful students, children, and grandchildren, who everybody in this room should have such nachas in, because I could tell you from my front row seats in my lab on campus, and this I just want to say as a side to the last panel we have, the single-digit number of children, students who come to Emory from a Jewish background where their parents valued their Jewish education, not because of the price tag, because they knew the impact of it and it's worth any cost. Those are the students who are always the loudest and proudest, but they have an incredible impact to all the other students who come from every sort of Jewish background, knowledge, ideology, practice. And it spreads and it's contagious. How many students are influenced by their friends who their parents deemed it worthy to give them an education where they know who they are and who they are matters. And so the last thing I want to share with you is a little historical PS that you could probably see in full cinematic theater. I believe they put together some film called The Miracle at Dunkirk. That tells this story. So I'll only share it in 60 seconds. And if you want to see it, go do that. But during World War II, and I believe today is actually 80 years memorial for the liberation of Auschwitz and Birkenau commemoration. But this was 1940, and there were close to 250,000 British soldiers that were trapped on the island of Dunkirk. The Germans were kind of caving in on them. The Blitzkrieg had already taken over a bunch of other countries, and it was a matter of time before France, England, and the rest of Europe would fall to Hitler. And what happened was an insane, crazy miracle in our time, because huge Navy ships could not come and rescue them because the beach was too shallow. They couldn't get them off the island. But if we're going to lose all these troops, there's no way we can win this battle because there's going to be no one to fight it. So what happens? The leader of that time, Winston Churchill, puts out a call to all the civilians in his country, in England, and he said, this is over the radio and they have like recordings of this, if you have a seaworthy vessel, a rubber dinghy, a craft, a canoe, a merchant ship, a yacht, it doesn't matter how big, how small, how fancy, or how rickety, and you could get across the channel, every single human being that you can put on your seaworthy vessel will be a human being that you saved. He put out this call, and over the course of those few days, over 1,200 citizens got their, little paddle or their fine, party vessel and went and put people on it and saved them. And those soldiers were the ones who went on to win the war. What does this have to do with us? I'm looking in a room where it looks to me like everybody here, no matter what your vessel is, no matter what vantage point you have, what federation, you're on, what foundation you're contributing to in terms of future investment and strategy, everybody here is somebody who's not just in concept out there doing good work, but using those seafaring vessels to bring about a renaissance of Jewish life and renewal through educating and inspiring every single one of ourselves, because it starts with us. If we're the people who are proud, loud Jews, it's not possible our children can't, by osmosis, take some of that in. And if we're people who spend our life, effort, toil, money, and time contributing to everybody around us in whatever way we're able to, every single one of us is part of that mission of bringing light and joy into the world, which is really what we're all here for. Because at the very beginning of our story, chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. And the second chapter just tells us there was chaos and confusion and a void, complete disruption and darkness everywhere. Kind of like we can biblically describe our times. But in that very verse, it says, "V'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim," that the Spirit of God hovered over the water. And that Spirit of God hovers inside each and every one of us. And what does that mean? The Spirit of God hovered over the abyss or hovered over the chaos? it's really an instruction to all of us to bring about the ultimate light and beauty and peace in this world, because the purpose of God creating the world is for us to partner to make it better. And that's something that everyone in this room is a partner of. And a special, I say shout out because it's underwhelming, but the incredible work and reach and scope and no boundaries and nothing can get in the way of JLI's mission of bringing knowledge and information and light to the world that so badly needs it. But it's not just a modern miracle. It's literally a biblical miracle in terms of proportion of bringing the ultimate fruition of what we're all here to do, which is to bring that light of God onto the abyss, into the darkness, into the world of chaos and confusion. And so I want to just say l'chaim to each and every one of us in this space. The word l'chaim doesn't mean cheers. Cheers means cheers. L'chaim means to life, but we never say it in the singular. We don't say chai means life, right? Chai means 18, it's life. We say l'chaim in plural because we cannot do it alone. We need every single partner. We need every single ally. We need every single friend and neighbor to join together to say l'chaim. We're here to bring light in the world. And how do we do that? By knowing our mission, our purpose, and what Hashem wants from each and every one of us. So l'chaim, we should all be blessed with abundant blessings for ourselves, our families, our community, and ultimately to bring Mashiach, which is to bring light into the world. And we're each and every one of us in a vessel bringing others along for this ride of a more peaceful and harmonious world that we're all been praying for our entire history, but we're going to be the ones to see that happen. So l'chaim.
The Roar Jewish Learning Institute has the largest collection of Jewish media online. Hit subscribe for more.